What's up, everybody? This is your boy, Dr. J Phoenix Singh, reaching out to you again with the response to a valued viewer question. You guys know that I love you. Please do take a second and like this video. Doesn't cost you anything, helps with the YouTube algorithm a lot. I'm putting as much time as I conceivably can into building this channel. It means the world to me that you guys are here with me on this YouTube journey. So please do, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, do so. We put out great content that will be relevant to you, regardless of where you are in your academic journey, every single week, sometimes even several times a week like this week. So please do make sure to subscribe. Share the link with your friends. Honestly, hop onto social media. If you love this video, post it there as well. But if nothing else, give it a like the second that you see it. I love you to death. So what I'm going to do today is to be able to answer a question from Angel. Angel, I appreciate you, man. Lots of love. I'm going to read it for you here, and then I'm going to respond to it for you, okay? So here we go. Angel asks, what skills should undergraduates develop in order to succeed in graduate school? Angel, I remember when I was an undergraduate, and let me tell you, I thought that I knew the answer to this question. I really thought that, if I get good grades and I get good test scores and these sorts of things and I study really hard, then those were kind of the skills that I was going to need for grad school. And I was totally wrong. So what I've done here is I've come up with a list of 6 different things that I think that you can do that would really benefit you in graduate school. I found this for my own students. I can tell you that I've definitely found it for myself in both of the doctorates that I had done in my 20s, which is forever ago now. Feels like yesterday, Angel. So, okay, let me go ahead and go through your question first. Here we go. Angel says, I love this channel. I love you. So, can you make a video for undergraduate students considering the doctoral degree? And what sorts of skills are needed to succeed in such a doctoral program? Trying to decide whether or not I should get the doctorate, as well as seeing if I'm even smart enough to complete the doctoral degree. Angel, these are great questions. I can tell you that this sense of kind of almost like imposter syndrome is something that everybody has struggled with at some stage of their career. I can tell you that. So in terms of whether you're smart enough to complete the degree, always remember that there's a difference between being intelligent and being smart. Intelligence is like the bandwidth of your internet. How fast can you download something? How fast can you buffer? That's the idea, right? But it doesn't have anything to do with content, right? In terms of actual content knowledge and acquiring that content and then retaining it after you've acquired it, that really is what we're talking about when it comes to being smart. And I can tell you that luckily, even though intelligence is something that we can't influence too much as a construct statistically, a little bit, but honestly, it's pretty not malleable. It's pretty static, right? But the good news is that you can outwork anybody, son. I'm telling you right now. I'm the exact same way. I don't think I'm smarter than anybody else, but I can outwork anybody into the ground. That's just how I am. And if you are willing to work harder than other people, they can be, 3 standard deviations, way down the line smarter than you are, okay? Sorry, not smarter, proving my own stupid point here, right? Okay. Way more intelligent than you are if you want to take an IQ test. But let me tell you right now, you can develop significantly more content-related expertise right now, more skill sets, etc. And they're going to be smoking pot in a poncho talking about Marxism with their IQ of 155, okay? And you're going to be the one with the doctorate who's actually changing the world. So don't be silly and think that, you're not smart enough to complete the doctoral degree, okay? That is not up to anybody else except for you. And I do not want you comparing yourself against anybody except who you were yesterday, all right? So that's that piece. So now let's talk about what kinds of skills I think that you should really work on developing as an undergraduate if you want to really thrive during the doctorate. Doing the doctoral degree is going to be your personal version, Angel, of Mount Everest. It is going to be the hardest thing professionally, very likely, that you have ever done, especially if it's something where you're going straight from undergrad to the doctorate or straight from a master's degree to the doctorate. The likelihood is very high that this will be the hardest thing that you've ever done. It will be the hardest thing in terms of your professional life. So I want you to be well prepared for that. I want you to be prepared. I don't want you to listen to anybody who gives you nonsense fairy tales about, it's almost like tattooing. This is 50 hours of tattooing. Anybody who's just it didn't hurt. It only hurts if you're a wuss. That's ridiculous. I love the pain. I love the pain because you had to go through something to get it. It's the exact same thing when it comes to the doctorate. This is literally a no pain, no gain situation. It doesn't have to be devastatingly traumatizing, but it is not going to be easy in the slightest. Something is wrong if it is too easy. It should be something where you are literally being reprogrammed. You're like Neo waking up from the Matrix. All of a sudden you're in the real world and you're just like, what the heck is even going on here? And you feel ill-prepared, etc. But it's something that once you're actually in that environment and everything you already knew kind of starts getting shut down, you can start to rebuild even stronger, Angel. All right? So the first thing that I found myself needing to do, which I didn't do during undergrad, but I think is necessary, is to take the time to grieve the fact that everything you know in the field, so let's say it's in clinical psych, everything you have read in all of your textbooks is not a fact, and everything is up to conjecture. I can tell you when I was an undergrad and I was reading all my textbooks and these sorts of things, I love to this day learning, and I loved so much reading these textbooks, learning about all these famous social psych phenomena, things like cognitive dissonance and all this kind of stuff, or in forensic psych classes, stuff about false confession, eyewitness testimony. I want you to remember that at the end of the day, all this stuff is just a postulate. And a postulate is basically a theory that is accepted as a fact. All right? There's no facts in peer-reviewed research. That's not a thing. No matter what we do, we can get grades of confidence higher, but we can never be absolutely certain. And that really freaked me out at first, to be honest with you, because I just kind of assumed that if I was reading in a textbook, that it's true. Versus now, Angel, like, I've written 5 textbooks, right? And it's full of postulates. It's basically what it is. And my books are used all over the world at universities. So I can tell you right now, if you're reading one of my books, everything's postulate, right? And if you're reading any textbook or any piece of research, it is a postulate. That is what we're dealing with here. It takes a little bit of time, though, Angel, to kind of grieve that. And to grieve the lack of certainty, it's almost like, I forget, you guys can remind me who the scientist was who realized that, atoms were mostly like space. And, he basically went a little bit cuckoo to the point where he was wearing things like snowshoes around by the time that he died, because he was convinced that he was going to just fall through things and all, because everything is mostly space, right? In terms of atoms, everything that kind of makes up our organic matter, or all matter, right, is just kind of blank space. So it's one of these sorts of situations where, you don't want to go nuts thinking about how, oh my gosh, everything's a postulate. But at the same time, breaking yourself away from the idea that there are certain things that are facts in science and peer-reviewed science, and certain things that are not, especially in the social sciences, is something that is incredibly important. Number 2, I want you to think about developing skill sets. That's a mindset thing. Now we're going to talk about skill sets. So the things that I really recommend, Angel, the more videos on this channel you watch, you're going to know that I love me some stats, and I am not a math guy at all. I suck at standardized tests, and I've always sucked at math. Stats, though, is something that I poured a ludicrous number of hours into. And it's something that at the end of the day, it is the keys to the castle, especially if you can find a way to teach yourself stats as opposed to just sitting in a classroom and somebody else telling you how to do stats. What happens is that, like in my field, violence risk assessment, so the overwhelming preponderance of research articles published in my field with the number 1 most commonly used statistical methodology, which is something really popular, that if you ever, Angel, never want to get invited to a dinner party again, you should say receiver operating characteristic curve analysis resulting in areas under the curve. If you say that, you will never be invited back, my friend. So the thing is that's the methodology most commonly used in my field. But unfortunately, it is also a methodology where the result, which is an effect size called the AUC, is misinterpreted by virtually everybody. And I'm convinced that the reason why is that there's a small group of people who are actually teaching stats at forensic psych programs internationally, because it's not a massive field, and they're all teaching the wrong interpretation of the stat because they don't know statistics or they were taught incorrectly by somebody else. So this false messaging propagates through different individuals. If you can come to love stats and realize that the key to all of research and understanding the closest approximation of truth that we can get to, which is peer-reviewed research conducted, using rigorous methodology and statistically analyzed using proper procedures, you're going to be good to go. You're going to be good to go. Get into stats. I love me some stats. The second, which is related, is research design. Make sure that when it comes to research design and experimental design in general, you know as much as you can learn. This is going to prep you so well for grad school because at the end of the day, you're going to usually come up with either one big or several mini projects that are going to serve as part of your master's thesis or your doctoral dissertation. Sometimes you have to get a terminal master's along the way if you're doing something like a clinical psych PhD in North America. Totally depends on the program. I don't have a master's. I have 0 masters and 2 PhDs. You know what I mean? So it totally depends on your program, where you do it, etc., and what their expectations are. But stats and research design, my friend, will get you everywhere. The next thing to do is that you really need, before you start applying to grad schools, or frankly even thinking about what grad school to apply to, you need to choose a clinical phenomenon, a population, and a methodology. For example, it could be, I want to look at callous unemotionality in adolescent boys using face morphing technologies. Whatever it is, you need those 3 things: phenomenon, population, methodology. Once you have those, you need to start critically reading the peer-reviewed research literature, finding out what the seminal articles are, taking a look at recent systematic reviews and meta-analyses, as well as surveys of practitioners. And then what I want you to do is set up either a Google Scholar alert or a PsycInfo alert, or you can do what I do, which is essentially to be able to go into Google Chrome, find every conceivable journal that has published research literature on that topic over the last 3 to 5 years, then open up the current issue page in like a million tabs. Let's say you find 100 journals. You'll have 100 tabs in one session of Chrome, all pointing to the current issue page of a different journal, and then bookmark all tabs, right? You bookmark the whole session, and then once a month, once a quarter, and once every half year, open it up, go through the tables of contents of all issues that have been released since the last time that you checked, and scan the abstracts. Find out who are the big players, because a lot of people are silly enough to believe that these really old school folks or whatever who founded the field are the dream people to work with. The thing is that most of those folks are resting on their laurels. You want the young guns. You want the rising stars. You want the mid-career tried and true allies to be your doctoral supervisors. That's who you want. It's really cool to have the affiliations with the old career legends, but the likelihood, some of them I know are phenomenal supervisors, but I also know a large handful who they just don't really care that much anymore. If they're on grants, it's not because they're pursuing it, it's because other people are putting them on the grants. Same thing with papers, conference keynotes, you name it, right? They get invited all the time, but they're not really proactive. You want somebody really proactive because they're the ones that are going to teach you the most. They're going to be the most proactive researchers who are going to help you the most in your professional career. Okay, the next couple of things. Number 5, be a self-starter. Be as independent as you can conceivably be. You do have to be agreeable in graduate school. I find that to be incredibly important. Don't think that you can do whatever you want or that you're at the same level as your supervisor. That's going to set you up for total abject failure. Nope. Right? Grad school is a dictatorship, a benevolent, hopefully dictatorship, sometimes not so benevolent dictatorship, but hopefully it will be for you, for your supervisor. Oftentimes you don't know until you get started. But you need to be a self-starter. It shouldn't be something where, you need a lot of hand-holding. You need to be able to teach yourself things. So, for example, for me in meta-analysis, when I start grad school, I'll be just straight up with you, Angel. When I first started grad school, I didn't know anything about stats. I thought I was so smart. I was not. And it was definitely a situation where, I needed a lot of hand-holding, and I thought that I should be able to ask my supervisor anything at any time, and part of his job was to give me the answer. And that is nonsense, right? My job is to try and figure it out any way, shape, and form that I can as a grad student until I get the answer, and if I really can't figure it out, then I can go and ask for help. But the thing is, your supervisor won't always be around, but you will always be around you. And so because of that, there's that Dr. Seuss quote, which I love, which is wherever you go, there you are, right? You're going to carry yourself, Angel, with you wherever you go. So you got to make sure that you're the best version of yourself, and that includes sharpening up that knowledge base and that skill set. So try to be as much of an independent self-starter as you can. And finally, number 6 of 6, is it 6? Yeah. Is building up protective factors to prepare for battle. Grad school sucks, okay? It's the hardest thing you'll probably ever do in your entire life. I have run 2 very successful businesses. I've made a lot of money. I have worked my tail off over the last decade and had very little fun. I'll tell you that right now, right? And like Gary Vee, I'm not a huge Gary Vee fan, but Gary Vee, he is a straight shooter, and he says that every successful person he's ever met has eaten shit every day of their 20s and 30s. Yeah, that's true. It depends. I mean, a lot of people are just satisfied with not having a lot and not making too much of an impact relative to, the greater, or the small little group of people who are actually people who are changing things. But it's one of these things where there's a blessing. A lot of people ask me, I get a lot of phone calls, Angel, of people who are single who say that I don't have a family, I don't have kids, and that's always been a dream of mine, right? And that sucks if that's something that you've always wanted and you don't have yet. But the key word is yet, number one. And number two, it's something where there's so many blessings to being single, especially if you want to be in academia or build a business. It's better to focus on those things because eventually that other element, if you decide something you want and you proactively pursue it, you can go after and you can get it. But it's going to take a lot of time. And remember that time is like a balloon. If you want time to do something over here, you got to spend less time doing something else. So if you're single and you don't have those other responsibilities, you can crush it at work. And I do recommend doing that for at least like a few years, a decade, whatever it happens to take you, you can dominate. And the good thing about academia is the more grants you have, the more publications you get, the more keynotes you give, the more training materials you develop, Angel, you're going to have so many assets that can never be taken away from you that are going to only build and benefit you after you get into a relationship and after you have children. And these things is a blessing, right? But build up those protective factors. Make sure you're physically healthy. Make sure that you are mentally healthy. It's so important. Point prevalence of depression and anxiety in grad school is absurd. The likelihood is high that you will get clinical depression or anxiety in grad school. Make sure that you are building up these protective factors beforehand. Make sure that you got a solid group of real friends, not fake friends. No, you don't need 10. You need 1, maybe 2. Right? Good, genuine friends who are going to stick it out with you. It's very rare to have friends like that in life, which is unfortunate. The older that you get, the fewer friends you tend to have, right? But those friends, like, you cherish them. They're like diamonds to you, right? It's like my buddy Dowd. Shout out, love you, Dowd, right? Every Tuesday for years, Dowd and I, we've lived in different countries. We talk every Tuesday, no matter what, period. I love him to death. His son is my godson. Ollie, I love you if you're watching. This is one of these situations where he has been through everything with me, right? And if you can find a friend like that who is loyal to you, you be loyal to them as well throughout your whole grad school journey. It's super important. Build those protective factors up. Build up that relationship with your family. Build up if you have a spouse or you have a serious partner, build that relationship up. Watch my video on this channel about kind of protecting those relationships because it can be really rocky when one of you is in grad school and the other one isn't, or even worse, you're both in grad school at the same time and you met during grad school, not like before grad school. That's a whole other, can of worms. So in any case, those are my recommendations in terms of skills that undergrads should develop in order to succeed in grad school. Again, love you guys to death. Thank you so much to Angel for his valued question. Be sure to hit me up. Make sure to comment below with your questions and your comments. Helps us with the YouTube algorithm if you like the video. And if you want to book a paid consultation with me, you can do so via the website below. All right. Love you guys. Peace.